Today we're talking about hanging pawns, pawn structures, right? I remember I was working with this one coach, right? And he told me that he was like, pawn structures are the GPS of the game, right? Pawn structures are the GPS of the game. So understanding the GPS, right? If you don't have one, you don't really know where you're going, right? So the pawn structure tells you that. And there are pawn structures that have names, like the isolated pawn. That's a pawn structure, right? But you also have another thing called the hanging pawn structure, which means they're hanging, like they're actually hanging. What that means is like those pawns are not connected by any other pawns, right? And they can be targets, or you can also use them for attacking. So we're gonna see that later on in this game. We got Alec Aliakin game, Alekine Aliakin, right? 1925, Baden-Baden versus George Allen Thomas. Let's see it. Yo, Sino, thanks for the tier 1. Thanks for the hype train, y'all. Let's get hype. Let's go. Thanks for that. Turn up, turn up. Thanks for the follow. Jan Levat. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Let's go. Let's go. All right, so here's the game. Here's the game. It's 53 moves, so we actually going to fly through a lot. We're going to keep it like 15, 20 minutes like we usually try to do here. So let's get it. E4, knight f6, right? So Alekine himself is playing what? The Alekine. I mean, it don't get no better than that right there, right? It don't get no better than that. So D3, and he like, wow, man, come on. So you're not gonna play into my stuff? All right, bet, whatever. You're gonna give me the center, I'm gonna take it. I'll take the D4 square. C5. Did he did he call it the me defense? Did he call it? Yeah, this is the me defense. Thank you very much, because it's my opening. Say something if you want to. C5, beautiful, right? D4, with the D4 square on lock. So F4, okay, this is different. I mean, E5's coming, but he kind of wants that anyway. Knight C6, Knight F3, and then black plays G6, which is a little bit different. I mean, I don't play any of these lines in the Aliakin, but this looks like a Sicilian dragon now. Very Sicilian dragonish or accelerated dragonish or King's Indian-ish. Like Bishop G7-ish, right? That's how I am. You know, I love the bishop on G7, like the King's Indian, Grunfelds, and the accelerated dragons and dragons. These are my openings. Those are my favorites. So, of course, I can feel this position already. Bishop E2, Bishop G7, Knight B to D2, and then he breaks with D5 with a little Grunfeld action. A little Grunfeld here. Castle, Queen side, right? And then King 8, Castle, sorry. Castle, King H1. This is a prophylactic move to step off of stuff like Queen to B6, which gets super annoying after a C4 push. Bishop can't really develop because B2 hanging too. And you got this monster bishop. So, but King H1 is a very nice prophylactic move, especially when you push the F pawn. All right, King H1, B6, intention is very clear. Bishop to B7, right? You put your king on H1, right? This is strategic. I mean, real strategic. He put his king on H1, so my bishop is going to go to B7 because I'm going to just chill on the diagonal and like see what you doing. Like, I'm just about to chill, bro. So E takes D5, Queen takes D5, and this is kind of like baffling. After B6 happens, right? The man play E takes D5. Like, what is wrong with him? Why on earth would he take this when I just played B6? I mean, maybe he's going to put his bishop on this diagonal. If that's the case, that's a little bit different. If this doesn't happen, this is absolute suicide. After E takes D5, Queen takes, and then Queen E1 and bishop to B7. You can already feel the uncomfortable pressure. Isn't that calm Finchetto? But putting the bishops on G7 and B7. Yes. Finchetto. Yep, correct. That's right. He went to get the cat. Yeah, double Finchetto. Right. This is the double Finchetto. This is very nice. With the white pieces or the black pieces, if you can get these structures are very flexible. I mean, look at the pressure you have on both sides of the board, right? But white playing knight to C4. Okay, so after the knight to C4 move, there is some pressure, maybe even some knight to E3, which is going to attack the queen and the G2 square at the same time. And then knight to D4 from Aliakin here. Right, and knight E3 is exactly what happened. Queen goes back to C6, right? So we're going to move through some of these moves because what they did was a lot of maneuvering till we get to the hanging pawn structure. Knight D5 takes, pawn takes. Yeah, he is an OG. Ciao. That's right. He is an OG. Knight takes D5, Queen takes D5, and he did get that bishop to F3. And then you get here, and you're like, bro, this is boring. Like, what is this? Garbage. This is like boring. Like, literally, this is literally boring. Okay, pawns over here. I mean, you got like, what is this, right? What's the piece count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pawns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pawns. So it's really boring. But the C file is open. Maybe we can use the C file, right? And I would take black here just because of the pressure we have. My king is a little bit closer to the center, which matters if we're going to trade the queens off. I got the open C file like in the Sicilian, right? My bishop's a little bit worse, but not really, actually. It's kind of the same. So in fact, I mean, like I'm doing actually good here with black. I'm doing great, in fact. Play e6. Like this is an excellent game for the black pieces. White plays c4. Open stuff up. And then here we go. D takes c3 and B takes c3. Here we are. Here we are. And now the whole game is decided right here. Believe it or not, the whole game is decided right here. If you understand the structures, if you understand what to do with the structures, how to use the structures, like we said, what pawn structures are the GPS of the game, you can navigate the rest of the game literally from right here. Think about that. So, okay, black to move here. In fact, I want the plan. What is the plan, right? This is the hanging pawns we talked about. Hanging pawns, the structure here, why is it hanging? Is because if we flip the board here, right? Flip the board. These pawns are hanging technically. They're like two isolated pawns, but they together at the same time. But they isolated, but they together. Like they still together, but they isolated, right? Because the pawns here are not defended by any other pawn at all, right? Only pieces can defend them. And if you push them, they get weaker. The one that you push is strong, but the one behind it is weak, which means you have to defend it. And if you move one, then the other can separate. It's ridiculous, right? It's a lot going on with these two little pawns. They may look good, but they also may be real bad. And it just depends on the position. It says, like me and my girl, got it. Yikes! All right. So here, okay. Bishop takes c3 when winning exchange, or rook c8. C3 is the weakest point, right? Codependent pawns. Push b4, isolate the hanging pawn even more. Right, talking about this, right? I mean, beautiful plans here. You guys are already understanding what to do with plans. Very nice, right? Plans, absolutely. Here's the move, very easy. Rook c8. It's easy. Come on, bro. Rook c8. Bishop b2. What's the next move? What's the next move here? It should be easy for you. It should be easy for you. What's the next move? What's up, Davey? What's good? Make plans before moves. That is correct, Quantum. What's the next move here, chat? Rook to d8. Okay, double up, says Mr. Popezilla. Says Dubs. Double up. Rook after d, rook after d. More rook after d's. It's unanimous. It's unanimous and lovely. Great job, chat. Great job. Amazing. Rook after d8. Look at the rooks. They're doing exactly what their job is. Rooks like what? Raise your hand. Yes, open files. Absolutely. These are most likely half open, but these are the ones that are open. Put the rooks on them. Bishops attacked. Here you literally have a strategic plan, right? You play e6, defend everything. Why e6? Because this is your weak point. This a pawn not really matter because you can't really get to it. But we e6, and then we're going to pressure these and literally shuffle around and build the pressure up until we win the game. It's a very easy grind. This is going to be a grind. This is not crushing tactically and winning in like 5 moves. This is going to win in like 55 moves. Hence the game ended in 53 moves. Okay, here we go. After rook after d8, rook f3. Here we black play bishop f6. So defending, not playing e6, but defending the weak point e7. Right, e7 right here. Okay, I didn't miss F rook. I will play rook a to d8, which is because the rook, this one's already on the c file. This is why you want to bring the f1, because the c one's already doing the other work. Should I try to sneak in f5 earlier? F5 will be a problem because then you make this pawn backward. You'll have what they call a backward pawn. If you play f5, first off, 100% is gross because the queen sits here on e6 and then it's like chilling and you're going to put the king on f8? Like, really? Bruh. You're looking crazy right now. You can probably get away with this. Oh, yeah, this is real bad. You said white, not black. Okay, so you're talking about playing f5 as white? Where? Maybe here? Ooh. F5? I mean, this is hanging right now. Maybe you said earlier. Is there even a chance to play F5? Queen takes B7, maybe F5 now. And then I have the C file. And F5 is not anything by itself. And especially as black here, we would want this. Because I can actually consider, usually you take towards the center. But I can actually do this with a huge confidence. And be better as black, I think. The structure is gross. Structure is absolutely gross. As black now, I got more weaknesses, but I have more development than you. So because of that, I can take with the F pawn and be fine. But H takes is much better. My structure is great. There's nothing. The queen doesn't have anything. The C file is pressure. This is terrible for white. Black wouldn't take on F5. Yeah, you probably wouldn't take on F5. You can. There's many cases, especially in Sicilians and Grand Prix, where you can take this, play E6, right? King H8, Rook G8, and play on the file like this. You actually could play this, but you do have to be careful with, like, if you automatically do the play, you might also get mated yourself sometimes, right? So you have to be careful of that and be aware of the counterplay, but it is possible for you to take on F5. It is possible, right? Okay, so let's go back. All right, so fast forward here. Rook C8, Rook D8. Boom. Okay, Rook F3, and then Bishop F6 and D4. So he plays D4, blocks the bishop up. All right, cool. We got to play against this hanging pawn structure. Now, first off, look at this bishop. Let's just drag it, put him somewhere, because he basically not even on the board. But what do we actually do here? It's black to move. You got hanging pawns to deal with. What do we do next? What do we do next? This is very strategic. This is a strategic win for black. If you can get this correct, you can strategically win many positions from like move 20. B5, pawn to B5. Okay, we got a pawn B5 here. Queen to D5, rook to C4, blockade perhaps. Rook takes D4, E takes D4, rook to C2. Mr. Popezilla, I'm gonna clap it up for that right there. I like that ambition. I like that sacrifice. I like it, but it is 100%. Oh, it's gross. It's really terrible because you just like it don't do anything, but just let you get the rook to the 7th rank. But I do like the sack first, think later mindset, like grandfather's house. Definitely. Pawn A4. Can't even go there. You can go A5, maybe. B5 though. B5 you can go. I like the B5 for the C4 square. Rook C4 is a great option. The move here was Queen D5, so very nice. Queen D5 and then Queen E3 and then Queen B5. Now we're gonna fast forward a little bit here because these is like just a lot of shuffling moves. Not really shuffling, but key points here. Taking over what we call, there's a dark square strategy and there's a light square strategy. Here, dark square strategy in a way would be like what black's doing or what white's doing with the pieces on the dark squares, but this is terrible for his bishop. And for the contrary, black doing light squares, queen, c4, b5, d5, b5, a5. Like all the putting these pieces on the light squares are very nice for our pieces. Maybe even this is why e6 makes a lot of sense, even deterring f5, right? But bishop f6 makes sense too as well, I guess because you want to put the king on g7, but you can even do that too with e6. Okay, so what happened? Queen d2, he put the rook on d5. Boom, another one. Right, another one. I don't have that one yet. I got to get that sound off. But rook d5 and then h3 and then e6. So he does play e6, stopping and discouraging f5 as well. Right, rook e1, following the light square strategy. Queen a4, hitting a2. I mean, look at everything on the light squares here. And then he plays b5. All these pieces on light squares. Not only is c4 and d5 all locked up, this bishop's terrible. His bishop is a wonderful piece because here's a rule: when you trade a bishop and you're left with another bishop, I'm gonna give you a Jedi tip here: put the pawns on the same color of the bishop you traded. So what bishop did we trade? The light square bishop. So automatically we have to go for this pawn structure anyway, based off of the bishop we have left. So this is very nice, very strategically won all the way back here. When the hanging pawns happened, this was strategically won. C4 in a way is like a blunder. I mean, it really is, because as soon as C4 happened, rook here, it's immediate. I have all the squares. I have all the play. You have nothing. Queen to D1, rook to C4. We're done. Like, this is great. This is great here. And this is just a grind. So let's see what he did. Rook d6. He grinded around. They made moves. It was really, literally right here, guys. This is the hard part about chess, but it's also the most technical part about chess is like grinding the position. Bishop h4. He goes queen c4 when he could have captured, but he was on a4, right? It's like the same thing. They take a3. Oh my goodness, bro. Look at this bishop. Garbage. Bro, look at this. I forgot this was a move in the game. Oh man, I'm sorry. Like, dang, that's just rough. Man, the George, come on, come on, George, come on, George. I had to check that wasn't my game. Whoa, wait, let me make sure that is not my game. A3 is so bad. It's just, you know, you got a bad position. Man, a bishop been locked up the entire game. Yeah, you forget it's here. You literally forget it's here. Okay. Bishop to e7, he backed that boy up. He got 2 targets now, right? And what he did is just shuffle. Bishop d6 hits the pawn on f4. G3, king f8, bring the king a little closer. He was like, all right, you know what? I have nothing else to do, so bring the king around. Literally. Bring the king all the way to the center. All right, cool. Play rook a5. I don't even know what that do yet, right? Then he plays this right here. Get this move, bro. Y'all ready for this? A6. Bruh. Look at this. Look at this. Who in their right mind would have played this right here? A6 and just trap everything all up like this? This is very scary, in fact. But he realized there's no play. You can't break here. You can't break here. So what did he do? Well, you can't break here either. You can't break here either. The only thing we're about to break here is your face. If you touch anything, this is over. So he plays h4. Everything's all locked up at this point. All the breaks are under control. So he tries to improve and he says, I am the only one that controls the pawn breaks, which means like g5, f6, c4 is controlled as well. So if you can control the pawn breaks, you can control the game. That's huge. So after f6, he can play e5 when he wants to. Bishop c1, a little shuffle around, and he finally breaks with e5. Boom. Breaking down the position. That's it. That's all it takes. Takes. He goes bishop b2. We do another trade. And everything, it falls together, right? It literally, if you look at this again from the pawn structure, chip away at the whole thing. Chip away at the whole thing. These are the pawn breaks, and this is what we need. So he played e5, trade. Then he said, okay, cool, we need this one, we trade. And then we get it going. And this is a wrap. Everything's all here, lined up, ready to go. A takes b4, rook takes a2. And then after you take my rook, I take the bishop, and he resigned after this. I mean, this was like gorgeous strategic play from like move 15 out the opening, bro. Like, this is very good to understand. Right here, when this happened, you could just play this and you could say to yourself, I'm about to win this game. Literally, you can say it, and this is good to understand because if you get pawn structures like this, you know, in games, you can use these type of things as well. Positional chess at its finest, absolutely. These squares are weak. He put his pieces all on those squares and just grinded the rest of the game. All right, fast forward, got the rook to d5. Literally, this position right here is optimal. All my pieces are on your squares, right? And I'm just going to shuffle around, and at the right moment, I'm going to break when it's ready. And it just took time. It just took time, right? Took another 30 moves from here, but he got it to break down, right? Everything was optimal. Bring the king closer to the center, lock down all of your play, and then I'm going to use the pawn break at the right moment. And it was clinical. It was literally clinical, surgical, all that other stuff. And that was a wrap here. So hopefully I learned about the hanging pawns today. We got more about hanging pawns too as well. We did another one on hanging pawns, but this one is more instructive about positional play. So cool, guys. More stuff on the way as usual. Hope y'all enjoyed this. So make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube.